Hello and welcome to another live walkthrough. So here we are, Thursday, July 16th, 2020, and just over 24 hours ago, I got an alert to say that my friendly distro has posted an update. And not only that, there was some brilliant news alongside that as well. Now, July 15th, actually marks a special occasion because it was this day, 12 months ago, that EndeavourOS launched onto the scene. Yes. So first of all, I just want to be able to say happy birthday to all at the Endeavour team. I've got to say that I've seen you progress immensely over the last 12 months, and I continue to support you guys, and I have absolutely all the love and attention that I can give you with this distribution here. So when I first started using it, I've got to say, yeah, it was okay, bit of a mess, couldn't get things to work properly, but definitely over the recent releases that you guys have been obviously embarking upon us on, I've had no issues whatsoever, and Endeavour is now becoming, in fact, has become my number one Arch distro. Apart from this week. No, I say apart from this week because I'm still currently testing the latest version of Manjaro at the moment. But as soon as I've done with my testing this week, this July release is going back on the box, and I will not remove it again. I'll tell you that now. But anyway, happy birthday to all at the Endeavour team. So, yes, here we are. It is the July release, released on Wednesday, July 15th, 2020. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So Brian posted up a blog yesterday to basically announce the 1 year anniversary. Not only that, but to kind of give us a bit of a sense of what's been going on in the project over the last 12 months. So here on the screen now is the blog post from the Endeavour website. He clearly points out that 1 year has passed on with big learning curves and challenging goals that seemed unreachable, but we conquered them anyway, and now it's time for EndeavourOS to re-enter the atmosphere, and heralded by a twin sonic boom to announce its landing back to base. That's kind of a teaser in a way, because, wait for it, there is, as I scroll further down here, an announcement which some in the Linux community will be very, very pleased to hear about. But let's talk about some changes that's going on. So what we will see in the coming weeks is the EndeavourOS website going up and down like a yo-yo. The ISOs probably will still be sat there, but moving across to different mirror sites. But basically what he's trying to say here is that they're not leaving the Linux scene, but they've still got some work to do with the servers and the website, and they just want to basically get everything in order there. He said in a previous post that he thanked the community members who obviously generously donated into the project over the past year. But thanks to all those donations, that they are able to now to stand by their own feet, and therefore now able to afford more powerful and future-proof dedicated server compared to the current one that they've got there. I must say though, I've not seen any issues out of you guys here in the UK, but it's possible that you've had others across the world also reporting some issues, which kind of has led you to move on to this investment. But as the post goes on, it can't go without saying that, of course, in a couple of weeks that the websites, the mirrors and the forums will go down whilst they're moving across to the new platform. But hopefully we won't see too much disruption. So if you want this July release, get it now and back it up. You don't necessarily have to download it today and install it today, but yeah, get it while you can, basically. So moving on to this release here. So this big July release, the last big release was back in April. So 3 months on, here we are now in the second quarter release for 2020. We've got a package cleanup configuration now tool going into this ISO. A handy tool to set the system to clean up the pack cache history of installed packages and reduce it to at least the last 3 versions. So if you've got cache that's lurking on your system for, I don't know, 12 months or so ago, the good news here is that there's now a tool that will basically go and look for those old packages and clean that up for you. We've got Arch Kernel Management now that lets you, or better known as AKM, that now will let you install several kernel versions and their headers available in the Arch repository with a simple click. I have seen that demonstrated in other Arch distributions, and I will say that's very handy to have, especially if you have to roll back. Not only does it obviously install the Linux kernels, but it also provides you with info which version is in the stable release. Now that's a good move. Well done, team. So AKM isn't installed by default, so you will obviously have to go and get that package there, but it's available for you now. Let's put it that way. Personal commands, yeah, so here the feature needs a bit more explanation, hence the separate paragraph on his blog here. Yeah, he might as well drop the bomb from the start. This feature is not a simple one-click solution for us newbies. Well, kind of got that in a way. It is a collaboration tool and intended for users who already know how to create a script, and for users who are willing to learn from those seasoned users to make the system go deep there. A lot of seasoned users obviously have created their own scripts to perform maintenance on their machines, so hopefully this will not be of too much of a shock to them, and they know what they're doing. Command tools let you obviously create a button for your customized script in the welcome app as well, using YAD to enhance on the experience there. It's all detailed here. If you probably want to know a little bit more about that, just do some Googling around, and there will be some helpful hints and tips out there to help you do that. But anyway, so on to the announcements. So not only was it their first birthday, their first anniversary just yesterday, they dropped the ISO. But second of all, as a birthday treat and a final treat, here it comes as I scroll up the page. Ta-da! We are going to be soon getting an ARM version of EndeavourOS. Now, this pleases some. This pleases me because, well, I don't have any ARM technology here, but am already looking to invest in some ARM technology to be able to test out some ISOs using ARM. So here we are now booted into the ISO. So first of all, we just point out that we are now using the welcome app on version 3.0.1-1. In case they've released any updates overnight, I'm just going to say update this app and it will restart it. So before we do anything else, that's going to go away now. I have clicked it, you just haven't seen it. And that will go ahead and check to see if there is an update. It's gone away now. Yes, so there is an update because now we're on version 3.0.2. So now that's done, the first thing I am going to do is just load up the menu and click into display and see if my resolution is available to me. Yes, it is. So 1920 by 1080. You can do this here and click apply, but what I like to do is I like to just quickly load up a terminal, and if I just zoom in on this for you here, I like to run the xrandr command and just see if my resolution is available to me here in this list. I see a 1920 by 1440. Oh, there it is there. 1920 by 1080 running 60 Hertz and 60 Hertz. So the reason why it's appearing twice is because I'm running dual screen here. So what I can do is come down to the bottom of the terminal. I will do a Control-C here at this point. I'm just going to zoom out because you can't see exactly what's going on here. That's better. Right. Believe me, in a moment you'll be able to see this. So apologies for all this black around you here. So I'm just going to run the xrandr command and do a -S and then put in my resolution of 1920 by 1080. Press enter and we should see the screen disappear for a moment there, refresh and come back as full screen. There we go. Magic. It's happened. Great. Okay, so now that's happened there, let's close down the terminal now and look back now at this welcome screen here. So we can at this point now update the mirrors. So I am going to do that because it is a fresh installation. What that would do now is it will go off and detect what has been selected during the startup screen, of course, and it knows that I'm in the UK now, and it's selecting the HTTPS mirror version of that. So I can, if I want, choose a secondary mirror. So if it struggles to get anything from the UK, then it can go off and get something from France or maybe Belgium, which is what I tend to select here as my closest continents. So clicking OK now, that will refresh those mirrors. And in a moment, we'll get a text. Here we go. So the text comes back now, and you can see here we've got 3 UK server mirrors selected here, and we've got another 3 French ones selected also there as well. Belgium not listed. I wonder if the Belgium one actually comes under the France server, so we'll wait and see if that causes any issues there. So with that done, we'll click Save. That has now quietly saved. We should in a moment get a prompt, I think, to say save successful. Any moment now, or if you're going to do it or not. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm just going to initialize the Pacman keys now. So what this is going to do now is go off and actually perform a check to see if there are any updates within the Arch repositories. And that is now disabling a lot of registration keys and getting fresh keys for them now. So we just let this refresh here. And then we choose Enter to close the window. With that done now, we are ready to install the ISO. So we click Start the installer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an offline install, and then I'm going to download the Cinnamon desktop on top of that. One of the reasons for that is because I actually want the installation to be nice and quick here for this purposes of this video. So I'm just going to click offline, and that now starts the installation process. The one thing I love about Endeavour is you get this terminal window load up that actually shows you what's going on in the back end. So now we've got Calamares. Now I did write down which version of Calamares we were running here. So did I or did I not? No, that was the welcome app. My apologies there. Oh, and incidentally, it's worth pointing out that in my testing of this yesterday, I spotted that there was an update to the Snap D as well. So we'll get that updated as soon as we get installed. So I'm based in the UK, so I need to select British English from my language selection here. You can see that the terminal is now updating as we select these things. So clicking Next. And we are in Europe, in London, so again that's fine, so I'll select Next. My generic keyboard is a 105 key PC. I'm based in the UK using the English keyboard, and just to test that, I'm going to do my QWERTY. And I'm going to do my 1, 2, 3. Yep. And I'm going to do my exclamation and my @ and my speech. Yep. Keys are all in the right places. My pound symbol. That's my, I think it's that one there. That's the dollar sign. My pound sign is somewhere here. I think I have to press Control Shift. Sorry, I have a mechanical, there it is there, mechanical keyboard here. It was Shift and 3, that's fine. That's all fine, so the keys are in the right places. Okay, so I'm running a virtual disk here, so I'm going to make sure that my virtual disk is selected here. If you are installing it as dual boot, then obviously you need to select the hard disk that you're wanting to install the ISO onto. And then you're going to have to try and perform some manual partitioning, but I do believe that you do actually at some point get prompted to say, do you want to install alongside the Windows? I'm not doing that, I'm just installing it onto a fresh hard disk, so I'm going to say erase disk. And I won't create a swap partition, partly because I've chosen 16 gigabytes as my hard disk space. So there's no need for me to create a 2 or a 4 gig partition for swap on that. So I'm just going to go with a blanket root and a blanket home partition for that one. So that will do that automatically for me, having done the erase here. So you can see here that it's taken up 16 gigs of unpartitioned space, and it's going to install on an X4 format there on my 16 gig partition here. by default, it will select the master boot record. So this is where the information gets stored for the boot up process. So if you find when you boot up your ISO and you get a nice grub screen come up that says, do you want to select Windows, do you want to select Endeavour, that's where it will install that on dev SDA1 on the virtual hard disk here. And we'll get that in a moment, so click next. So now, next we enter in our user account details. So what's my name? Robin, and what do I want to use to log in? So Robin, and I'm going to call it Endeavour as my machine name. EndeavourOS actually. My password. And you can see here it's given me an alert to say that the password fails the dictionary check. That's because it's got letters and numbers in there. Basically, it thinks that because of the word that I've chosen as my password there is one which you can look up in the dictionary. Yeah, or part of it anyway. That's all I will say, no more. Right, do I want to log in automatically without asking for a password? Normally I would if I'm using virtual machines, but in the case of a fresh installation, I would say no to that one, so I'll just leave that one blank. You can also get it to require strong passwords if necessary, so the password that I've entered here and here is quite simple and easy for me to use. But if you want to put a strong password in there where your password can go on for like 16 or more characters and have letters and numbers in it, even symbols, then you can select to do the strong password there. So use the same password for the administrator account. Yep, so I'm the only user on this account and on this installation, and I will be an administrator, so I'm going to leave that one set as default there. So clicking next. And we're getting ready to install the ISO now. We'll just install that now. And here we are now installing EndeavourOS through the Calamares installer. So this will probably take roughly around about 10 to 15 minutes based on your hard disk hardware. So if you're running from spinning or SSD, plus also it's going to be looking at the read-write speeds as well. And also I'm running from a virtual machine inside another installation, so it should be fairly quick there. And you can see there that it needs to install 25,000 files. So we'll let that one get on its business, and we'll be right back once the installation is complete. Okay, so here we are, installation complete, we're all done, it's now installed on our system. I will say it took around 8 minutes to install on my virtual machine here, so it could take, as I say, take a bit longer for you out there depending on your hard disk and your hardware, but yeah, like I say, I was running the offline install here to make sure that the process went seemingly without issue, and was very, very quick. So 8 minutes that took to install for me here. Okay, so we are now done and dusted. So before we do anything else, we need to click the Restart Now button and then click Done. That's now going to restart the system. Remembering, of course, that if you are running this from a USB key when you did the installation, to at that point remove the key from your system so that you can get into this screen here. So we are now installed. We don't want to boot into the ISO again, so we're going to boot into the existing OS. And we are now on the grub screen. So here we've got the default EndeavourOS with Linux. Don't know why it does it twice there. But if you are experiencing some issues, you've got the option to choose, obviously, the secondary fallback method, which would allow the system to do a rollback, or at least allow you to choose a different kernel. We don't need to run the memory tester. I've already done that previously, so I can now just go ahead and boot into the installation. Again, the screen has gone 800 by 600, but momentarily, yep, there we go. It flicked to full screen on my HD here. If we do get some issues, again, I'm going to run the xrandr command. Nope, we're fine. That's brilliant. Okay. So before we go any further, let's point out that we are now in the default installation, and this is XFCE. As you can see here in the top right hand corner, it's got XF, just about, you can see there in a little circle. So if we click that, you can see here we've got the XFCE session. So before we do any updates or download any other software, the first thing I am going to do when I get booted in here is, well, at least check to see if there are any package updates, and then I'm going to install the Cinnamon desktop. Now, it's worth pointing out that I could have installed a Cinnamon desktop using the online approach during that installation, but for the purpose of this demonstration, I did the offline install, and I'm choosing to download the Cinnamon desktop on top of the XFCE default install there. You can, if after you're satisfied with your new installation of your desktop environment, then uninstall the XFCE installation there if you wanted to, and then just run with the blanket Cinnamon. But for now, I'm going to put Cinnamon on top of XFCE, and it's worth pointing out that you can install multiple desktop environments within the same installation. So it's not a problem if you are not happy with XFCE and you fancy trying out i3, or you fancy trying out GNOME's latest version. You've got the power and the capability to do that here in the ISO. So let's get booted in. So I enter in my password. This will bring us into the XFCE desktop environment by default. And you can see here now we're first prompted with the fact that we are now connected to the internet. It's found my my internet connection, and we're happily connected now via the wireless connection 1. Next, we're prompted to change the default wallpaper. So if we wanted to change it, we can do it at this point, or we could just say no, but I'm going to say yes for this benefit because I do like it. Basically what that means is it's now changed the default wallpaper to the, obviously, the desktop environment installation that you have here now. So we're running XFCE, so it is running the XFCE default wallpaper. We are getting some alerts now to say that there are some Arch news stories available for us to read. Do you want to load those now or read them later? So I'm going to read those later. Incidentally, the link that it took me to yesterday when I was doing my testing, it took me to a page that was quite severely out of date, so I don't know why, but anyway, it's good that that's given you a prompt to go to the Arch news page to at least see what's going on in the Arch world out there. So the first thing I'm going to do after the installation is update my mirrors. And you can see here we've now defaulted back to just UK, so that's fine. I'm going to leave it at that for now, but you saw during my installation process earlier on that I could have chosen other mirrors as well, but I'm just going to leave it at the default United Kingdom for now. And we should get a prompt in a moment. There we go. So that's now updated the Pacman D mirror list. So we just save that back by clicking this button here. I have to enter in my password now because I'm now running as an administrator on the machine and not the default live user. That's happened. So next I'm going to update the system. So this will now go ahead and check. Obviously, because again, I'm now a user and not the live user, it's now prompting me to enter in my user password. And that is now going out to check repositories and if there are any outdated dependencies. It's found some conflicts, so it needs to update those, especially as I'm running in VirtualBox at the moment, so it needs to download and install an update to VirtualBox Guest DKMS to 6.1.12-1 at the time of this recording. So that's going to download now 3.71 megabytes and update that. So yeah, let's give that a yes to that one now. So we'll let that one download and update. And we press enter to close that window. So the update is now complete. The next thing I'm going to do is load up a terminal window again. And this time I'm going to do my own command. So I'm just going to do a sudo pacman-s, capital S, because in this case we're asking it to go and check for packages. And I'm now going to ask it to, in fact, no, I'm going to ask it to do a SYU. Enter in my password. In the Arch world, that means it's going to do a system is it a YAR update? I can't remember. Anyway, there's nothing to update, so that's up to date. So again, I'm going to run that command again, this time with an SYY. That's up to date. Next, I'm going to do an SUU. Nothing there. Just do an SU. Nothing there. And an SYY. Yeah, it's all up to date. Great. Perfect. Okay, let's clear that. And we now need to install the Cinnamon desktop. So before we do anything else, we don't need to change Display Manager, don't need to clear up the packages, do we? In fact, I haven't run that, have I? So let's run the package cleanup first. So remember what I was saying earlier on today about in this installation, it now includes the Cache Cleaner Service Manager. This is it here, basically. So it's found now that 3.8 megabytes is what can be cleaned up here. You can get it through Automate as well. You can run it weekly, you can run it daily, you can run it monthly. I'm going to leave it set as default weekly. And it's going to check for the number of package versions to keep. So yeah, remember I said 3. You can increase that if you wanted to more. But I'm going to leave it to set to the default 3, as mentioned in Brian's blog a bit earlier on. Let's run now the Cinnamon desktop install. So to do this, we do sudo pacman -S, and we are going to now install Cinnamon desktop. Enter. That's going to download less than a meg. Okay, fine. Excuse me. No, that's not right. That's not right either. No, you were saying yes, Robin. There we go. That was a different username I was typing there, by the way, not my password. Right, so that has downloaded the desktop, so now we need to actually download Cinnamon. So we are going to run that command once again. Oops, sorry, sudo pacman -S, and we're going to install Cinnamon. That's better. So we've got 75 megabytes of files now to install, so we're just going to say yes to this. And as you can see now, it's installing a lot of dependencies. So it's now happily installing and ran that quite quickly, actually. Okay. Right. So in theory now, we are ready to go. So before we do anything else, let me just exit out the terminal, exit out the welcome screen, and now we're going to log out of the system. So for the moment, I'll say bye-bye XFCE. I will come back to you, because XFCE is my preferred desktop environment. So I'm just going to click log out for now. I'm logging out, not restarting, by the way. Right, so we're back at the login screen, but now what I will do is I'll go into the top right-hand corner and click on where it's got XF. And you can see here now, as I hover over it, we've got Cinnamon as a selection. So I'm just going to click on to Cinnamon, so that gets highlighted there, and you can see the icon now has changed, but there is no default icon at the moment until it runs its next update. So you should see a Cinnamon icon appear there at some point within the next few reboots. So entering my password again, and what this is going to do now is get us loaded into the default Cinnamon desktop. Oh, look at that, and here we are. So first of all, I'm going to say yes to the default Cinnamon wallpaper. That will change, and if I just move the welcome screen out of the way, yep, there we go, we are in Cinnamon. So you can see in the top right hand corner that I've got an alert saying that it's noticing that I'm running basically virtual machine, so the video hardware acceleration may experience some poor performance and high CPU usage. We might experience some locking as we do our testing here, but we'll see how we go. I'm already spotting as well a tiny bit of lag. But you won't get this if it was a proper full-blown installation. It's because I'm trying to do this virtually. So I don't need to update any mirrors or update the system or clean up any packages because, you know, we did that process to begin with. But it's just the fact that the welcome screen does load up when obviously you install another desktop environment. So some tips here. You can just find out more about package management and the Arch user repository and Yay. Incidentally, Yay is installed by default, so we can run some Yay commands to get some stuff downloaded from the snapd. So I will show you that process in a moment. You can also get some tips on hardware and network. And by the way, when I was having some issues in a previous installation around my NVIDIA drivers, here's where I went to get help and advice on that one there. As well as the NVIDIA link here, which obviously takes you directly to the NVIDIA page on the Endeavour website. We've also got this add more apps option here. So if you click into that, we'll just point out that by default you do not get any Office Suite installed. So you have a choice here to choose to install the Libre Office Suite, or if you like, you can go ahead and just download and install whatever Office version you like best. So just to point out that by default you don't get any Office Suite. The default web browser is Firefox, but most people like to use Chrome or Chromium, so you've got the option here to download that if you prefer. I normally don't click this button. If I want Chromium, I go and just basically type it out in a command line and install it through the terminal. We've also got the chance to install a firewall. I don't need to do it at the moment because I'm running on a virtual machine here, but if I was running as actual hardware with the installation here, then it is advisable to just make sure that you've got firewall installed and enabled just for extra security. And you remember I mentioned about kernel management earlier on in the video. So here, if you click into Kernel Manager, you can now enter in your password. And what this will do now is it will install the Arch Kernel Manager, or AKM as it was called. And when that's done, we'll just click that. Yep, so we've installed the Arch Kernel Manager now. So that will then, by default, hopefully now give us, if I just type in kernel, yep, AKM is installed now. So if I click onto this as an application, we now have the option to choose kernels. So if you find that you are running into any issues, you can, if you wanted to, backdate yourself to a latest LTS release here. So by default at the moment, I'm choosing the rolling Linux kernels here, which is currently running at 5.7.8, but you've got the option to obviously run it as a later one if you so choose. So in this case here, 5.4.51 is the latest and the most stable LTS release there. And you'll find that at the moment, at some point, it will upgrade itself to 5.7.9, which is rolling out right now, actually, as we speak. So before you know it, before we even get into the end of August, I've got a feeling that we'll be on kernel 5.8. I've also got a feeling that by Christmas, we're going to be on kernel 6. Yeah, I know, kernel 6, believe it or not. And Linus Torvalds is actually now working with his developers to get version 6 out the door. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens on that one there. So by default, the kernels at the moment, yep, so within this manager is set to 5.7, and you can pick and choose as you choose here. I'm just going to cancel out of that, but just to show you where you can access that kernel manager. So for now, I'm just going to close down this tool here, this welcome screen. And Cinnamon is ready to go, but I haven't personalized it yet, have I? Yeah. So remember what I showed you. If I just do Control F and revert back to my Manjaro installation here. So I've got my own default background, and I've changed the panel, changed the appearance of the theming here, and obviously installed a new icon set. So we're going to give that a try in Endeavour. So as I come back here and I do a Control F to go back to full screen, at the moment we're running default Cinnamon. So let's just quickly fire this up and go into themes. And it's here where I can select another desktop. So by default, we're running on the default Cinnamon desktop. And at the moment, we've only got Arc and Arc Dark installed, but you can install more. So I'm just going to select Arc Dark for now. You can see now that I've got a black or darkish toolbar up here. And if I click the start menu now, you'll see that that now has gone dark also. So the mouse pointers, you can change that to Capitan and Papa as well. And Arduino is the default one here. Again, you can choose more cursors by going off to, I think it's XFCE Lux or Cinnamon Spices, I think, and actually download more cursors from there. Under controls, at the moment we're set to a default grey, but obviously I have chosen to go with Arc Dark. So I'm going to go with Arc Dark here now. And that should change. There we go, nicely. So let's change this into a dark theme, which is brilliant. So Arduino, I'm going to now change that to Arc XD, because that's the dark version variation of that. And for a window border, I'm just going to make sure that that too is also selected as Arc Dark. And you can see now that there was a slight change there and is now giving us a nice look for this window. So with that done, just point out now that you can go to Add Remove and just update your cache here. And what it will do is it will go and find if there are any new images and download a fresh cache for you. Yep, so we've got some extra themes that we can select and choose from here. These are all the themes which are currently active on the Cinnamon Spices website. So if you want to browse and see what they look like, then I'd make a suggestion that you go ahead and take a look there. The one that I need to find is one which I'm going to steal from actual Linux Mint, and it's Mint Y Dark. So we've got Mint X Dark there at the moment. So let's see if I can find, if I type in it, a Mint actually. We've got Mint X Dark, that we just had a look at, haven't we? Let me do Mint-Y. A classic Mint Y theme in blue colours. That's nice. Yes, I'll go with that one. So if I click the arrow here, I can ask it to install it, which is what it's just done. So if I now click into themes, I can go into the desktop view here, and you can see that Pragmatic Darker Blue is now selected. So I can do that. You haven't seen much change happen apart from the iconography here. But now if I hover over these menus here, yep, so I think it's gone from default now to a darker color, but I'll just keep on checking that. So let's just see if it's installed anything else. So under the mouse pointers, yeah, we're still the default ones here. And if we go into Arc Dark, we've got Pragmatic Darker Blue now appeared. Okay, that's marvelous. So if I just select this, I think that might change us back to being a white. Okay, that's fine. But then we're going to Arc XD, and we have not got any extra icons now appeared, but we can get those downloaded a bit later on. But under Arc Dark for a window border, we can now see we've got Pragmatic Darker Blue now appear. So watch this red now appear to be blue. You can see that went blue there. Marvellous. Great. So that's how you can change your theme in there. So again, if you're not entirely happy, you can obviously search for more here and download more at your leisure, of course. But one of the ones that I do like to run in this view is one which is called, where was it now? I think that's a bit further down. No, it's not there, but you can actually find it on the Cinnamon Spices website and actually get it downloaded from there. But one of the things I will do in a while is download a new icon set here. Okay, so with that done now, we'll just check the settings. Do you want to show icons in menus? Let's say yes to that actually. So if I click now on menu, we should see here, yeah, all the icons are now appearing. That's great. Show icons on buttons. No change there, so we'll just leave that set by default. I think that's what it is. When you load up a window and you've got the close button, for example, then you'll see that you can have an icon there too as well. So we'll close that down for now. And with that done, let's take a look at the panel and see what applets are available now. So I like to have a weather applet. So the first thing I am going to do is go under download, update the cache here. And cinnamon being cinnamon, that will go and download stuff again from, I think, the Cinnamon Spices website. It's updating 151 images there. Marvelous. Okay, great. And you can see here we've got weather. So I'm just going to download the weather applet. And then I'm going to go into manage. And weather is now available to me. So just highlight this and then click the plus icon. And the weather applet has detected where I am, Rochester, UK, and has already given me my default settings to have the latest weather information appear in my panel here. So the one thing that's missing is obviously the show desktop icon. That is by default here in the bottom left. Windows users tends to have the show desktop icon there or in the bottom right hand corner. So I'm just going to move that. So in order for me to do that, I need to select to edit the panel mode. And then I'm just going to drag the show desktop icon across to the far right hand corner. And then that's already there. So next I've done the weather. So what else could I have in this panel? Well, I think there is also, well, there's an awful lot to choose from here basically. But that depends on whether you want to choose the panel, of course. So that's, I'm quite happy with at the moment because I've now got my show desktop and I've got my weather applet. So I'm just going to now turn off edit mode. And now I'm going to load up this browser, Firefox, and we're first going to check which version of Firefox we've got. So we go into the hamburger menu, choose help, and we go to About Firefox. And in this release, we're running on Firefox Browser 78. Okay, happy with that. So I'm just going to go into Cinnamon Themes. Oh, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Yeah, but it knew. Good old Google knew. If I scroll down, so we want the cinnamonlook.org. There we go, that's the one we want. And before we go any further, I just need to check in our file manager that I have got the default themes and icon folders available to me. So do a Control H and we'll see if we've got themes in this area. Yes, we do, and we've got a icons folder as well. So we don't need to create those folders. Excellent, but I will leave those set here. And if I go into full icon themes now, I'm going to go and try and get the Paprius icon theme set. There we go. And I'm just going to click under Files. Like I said, we're running in a virtual machine, so the speed of the load here is probably going to lag slightly. Okay, so I'm going to download the Paprius icon theme set here. One thing to do is probably just check. So people are actually, by the looks of things, downloading the Git version rather than the master theme set. This one was last updated by the looks of it on the 2nd of July. So that looks to be the most recent, which is why the downloads are quite low. But if you look at the file size, you've got 14 megabytes for this one here. So let's download this. 14 megabytes is quite large for an icon set, but it's the full set. You have to understand that. So we just do save file and OK. That now is going to go into our default downloads folder. So I'm just going to click the show folder icon within Firefox. You can see there it is. So I'm just going to now double click just to check what the folder structure is like, because sometimes these packages aren't packaged that well. Yep, so I've got Papyrus, Light Papyrus, Dark Papyrus, and ePapyrus, which is great. So these 4 folders here is what I need to extract. So I'm just going to select these 4 here, click Extract, and I'm going to extract it into my home folder and do a Control H so I can actually get a full list here, and go into my icons folder and extract them here. I might get a pop-up in a moment to say that they are extracted. Incidentally, while that is doing that, I think we'll just have a quick look to see what software is available to us. So we click in the Start menu, into Accessories. We've got our Archive Manager, which is what we're using now to extract or get the files packaged up here. G Calculator, LeafPad is your text editor. Mousepad is another text editor. Nemo is your default file manager. Arch Global Time, that's to do with clocks. You've got your screenshot tool, your virtual keyboard, and your software tokens if you've got the hardware to enter special codes to unlock your system. Graphics, you don't get GIMP installed, you get just the Ristretta image viewer, but you can download GIMP from the package manager. Internet, of course, we're running with just Firefox at the moment. We've got GFTP, so you do get a built-in FTP client, and also you've got Transmission, which is a torrent client as well. Always like to have one of those on standby. Office, as again I pointed out, there's no Office Suite installed here yet, so I'm just going to go off to the LibreOffice website in a moment and get the latest version from there. Other, you've got AKM, which of course is the Arch Kernel Manager. Under Programming, Icon Browser, don't really need that, it's not really of benefit to us, but if you download, say, Visual Studio Code, then that will go into this programming section here. Under Sound and Vision, by default, you just get your media controls here and your Parole media player. Parole as a media player for me is a bit on the buggy side. It messes around with my sound a bit because obviously I've got multiple interfaces here. But apart from that, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend Parole as a media player. So I would normally go and download maybe the GNOME video player or VLC. Which is what I tend to do. Under Administration, you get the conf browser, deconf editor as well to allow you to make some edits. That's like a registry editor for the system here. You get your Endeavour log tool, gparted. Now that's great if you want to partition out some of your installations there, or chop and change and move them around. That's a good tool to use there. I've not seen GLSync before. Okay, we'll have to check that one out. Hardware locality, and of course we've got our HTOP. So whilst we are sitting fairly idle with just the browser open at the moment, I think we'll just actually check out HTOP actually. And you can see here that we are not too bad actually, running on 1.28 gigabytes. Bearing in mind, I've got the system at the moment in the background recording for OBS as well. So that's nice. I like the colour theming on this one as well. So well done to the Endeavour team to get that one nicely themed out. And we'll just take one more quick look. So under Preferences, you've got obviously the chance to set your desktop settings, choose some desklets, backgrounds, applets, as we already just checked out here. Effects. Yeah, so you remember I talked about me having that sort of flashing nice swipe animation within a Cinnamon desktop. You can do that here via Effects. So I just want to see if I can enable that here. So by default, you can see here the effects style is set to Cinnamon, and you can change that to Scale or Fancy Scale. So I'm just going to go with Fancy Scale because I think that's what I chose. So if I just minimize and I maximize, excuse me. Yeah, it's happening a bit too quickly there. So was it that one or was it Scale? Okay, it probably will reset itself after I've done the another reboot. But just quickly come out of this and I'll go back into my Manjaro installation. So if I do go into Preferences and Effects, What did I set it to here? Fancy scale, that's it. Right, okay, fine. And everything was turned on, so let's just do that here. Everything turned on, and we select fancy scale. Right, so we'll just leave that like that. It's great. Okay, so we'll just do that. So back to being full screen again inside Endeavour. And we'll just give this a go now. So let's see if it's extracted the icons. There they are. So with the icons present now, I can actually, within the start menu, and go into themes. And it's here now under icons that I should see my new installations. So Paprius Dark. You can see the icon changed there, and you can see the icons have now changed within my panel down here. Excellent. Woohoo! We're starting to get this Cinnamon installation looking beautiful. Okay, so I don't want to delve too much into personalization here because this is my own personal look and feel of it, but you can kind of get the gist of me just playing around with it. Yeah, so I like it. I really do like it. I must say, I really do like it. So before I go any further, let's open up a terminal. I'm just going to... Now, terminal by default is not in my panel, so let me just try to find that first of all. No, it's not the XFCE one I want. What was it? It was under... You see what I mean about if you've got more than one desktop environment loaded onto the installation, they can get confused. So me just typing terminal, it wanted to load the XFCE terminal rather than the actual terminal for Cinnamon. So what was it? Is it actually in there as terminal? No. I wonder why actually I didn't do that. Anyway, that's a Cinnamon problem, nothing to do with Endeavour. So here I'm now going to install the Chromium browser. So for that, I can use Snapd. So before we do anything, let me just do a check on if Snapd is installed. So let's see, where is Snapd? It's not installed. If it was, it would give me the exact location next to that. Where is Yay? Yay is installed. Now Yay is a nice way to download packages pretty much from Snap. So I want to install the Chromium browser, but I'm going to search for it first to see if it's in the repositories. So I'm just going to do a, I don't need to do actually a sudo. If I do a, it might ask me for a password, but we'll say yay dash, or is it? Capital S, small s, and I'm just going to see if it can find Chromium. Yes, it's found it. Chromium version 84.0. Excellent. It's there and it's in the repository. So next, all really I need to do is type in yay dash uppercase S Chromium. Enter. Type in my password. Now it's asking me for my password because I didn't put sudo in front of that. And now it wants to go and download the latest version of Chromium and also update Snappy as well, because it needs that to obviously get everything from the Snap store. So Chromium 84 will download once I say yes to this. There it goes. Marvelous. Now Linux being Linux, whichever distribution I use, I tend to use Brave or Firefox as my default browsers. But yeah, it's down to you, personal choice. But anyway, I've just shown you how you can install Chromium through the terminal. So if I click onto the start menu now and go into Internet, there is Chromium. So if I do a right click on that, I should now be able to add that to my panel. And that now has put a Chromium icon in my panel. This panel is too large for me actually, just personal preference. So I'm just going to go into panel settings, and it's here then I'm just going to reduce the panel height down to 30. Let me just do that. Perfect. Okay. I'm happy with that. And I'm just going to now, yeah, let's change that, but that's fine. Perfect. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now, the Brave browser, if you want that, by the way, you might have to get details of how to do that from brave.com. But I am, just out of curiosity, I am just going to do a search for it to see if it can find anything called Brave. Brave is there. So, which version of Brave do I want? Do I want the beta? Do I want the nightly? Do I want the dev? Or do I want the full release? So, for that, I am just going to say yay dash uppercase S Brave. There we go. So, it's now offering me 3 variants of the Brave browser. I will say it is a lot easier to install Brave in Arch than it is in Ubuntu. Now it wants to know which version of Java, so the default is 1, so I'm just going to press enter to that one. Do you want to remove make dependencies after the installation? Yes, we do. That's now going to download Brave browser version 1.10.97. Differences to show, I don't want to see any of those, so I just say end to that. And it's now going to update some of these packages. And after this, I'm just going to quickly download LibreOffice Suite. And then I am done for this test. Next test will be to have it installed properly on my hardware and run it as a full daily driver. Okay, so it's worth pointing out at this point in that still 20 minutes into the installation of the Brave browser, it's still working on it. So just a word of advice there. Try to choose your timings wisely if you do want to install it, and yeah, just either let it do its work overnight or just make sure that you've got at least an hour to spare on that one there. Anyhow, whilst that is still going on, I'm just going now to try and see if I can, from another terminal window, try to install that was Manjaro. Try to install the LibreOffice, but I think I've just been told from a prompt there that I'm running low on disk space, which is to be expected because I only chose 16 gigabytes for my installation here. So anyway, it's just worth pointing out that if you go to the LibreOffice website here, you can currently see that we are now able to download the latest version, which is 6.4.5. And if you look on the Arch wiki or the Arch website, where we go here, I think it's archlinux.org, isn't it? Yeah. Hang on a minute, where are we? Arch Linux. That's it. Sorry, I know so many websites that I have tendency to forget what the actual email addresses are these days. That's the oldie in me. But if you go to the Arch Arch Linux website here, you can actually go to packages and see if the Office suite is available there. So if we do LibreOffice, you can see we've got the option to download the latest LibreOffice Fresh, which is currently running on 6.4.5.2-2, which is this latest one here. So the way that we'd normally do that is obviously load up a new terminal. And if I can see if I can get this to work. You're not going to work? Open terminal. Let's say, give me a new window. You would normally just type in sudo yay dash s. In fact, no, you don't, because it's actually on the Arch package here. So just to point out that if you obviously are looking at the Arch Linux website and you're under packages and not AUR, then you can actually just do a simple pacman command for this one. So what I would do is I would just go sudo pacman dash uppercase S. And then what you need is the full name of the package. So in the case of the website here, it says LibreOffice Fresh. It's LibreOffice LibreOffice-fresh, and you can enter your password. Yep, and that will just check for that, and it will install the latest version of LibreOffice. There it is. It's installing 6.4.5-2. Whilst that's doing that, we'll just check on the Brave installation. I know that's, yeah, that's right, because I've interrupted you. That's why. But trust me, Brave will install, and it is a lovely, lovely browser to have installed. But you know, that's just my personal choice, and I can't tell you what to do, but I can advise you what you need to do to download and install it, which is exactly what I have done. Okay, so errors occurred, no packages were upgraded. Okay, so that's the LibreOffice suite. So hopefully now if I go into Office, it hasn't downloaded it because it came across some errors. Okay, that's fine. Transaction was aborted. I've got a feeling I'm out of disk space now, so yeah, like I said at the start of the video about installing packages, if you want to do that, then you'll need to increase the disk size there. But trust me, obviously you can install Brave and you can install the LibreOffice suite in this way. So try me again next week when I've got this installed on full hardware and running it as a daily driver. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this little walkthrough of the July release. I may have missed a few things, but like I say, just go and look at the Endeavour wiki site and the blogs. Obviously go and have a look at the feeds over there on Twitter, and yeah, just follow along, have a bit of a read up, and once again, another congratulations to all the Endeavour team on reaching their first anniversary. So happy birthday again to all of you guys. So in the meantime, everybody, thank you very much for watching today, and have yourselves a great day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter there at RobinJust, or find me via Big Daddy Linux on the Saturday show every week. And until next time we meet, take care, and I'll catch you in the next video.